I'm Xiaomeng, and I have been a member of this community since 2021. If you are a new member of this community, please accept our wholehearted welcome. If you have any questions about our practices and topics, we're all here to help. If you are a regular, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meetings by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, study, and reside, the Wodi people of the Dharma Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respect to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. So the check-in sessions have been developed by our communities of practice team and the entire community. These sessions aim to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. Guided by humanistic Buddhism, we'd like to cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. So last week, Chris let us reflect on the impact that COVID has brought to us. This week, he will guide us in exploring the characteristics needed in building our new world. So let's welcome Chris.
Thank you, Xiaomeng. Okay, as customary, we're going to just do a short meditation, check-in, just to ground ourselves. So find yourself a comfortable position and gently close your eyes. Let your shoulders just drop and relax. If there's any tension in your facial muscles, just let them drop and relax as well. Consciously let the tension go out of them. I want you to focus on your abdomen. As you breathe in, feel your abdomen rise, and then watch it as it gently falls. Let those shoulders drop a little bit more. Feel the tension flow out of them. Watching the abdomen rise and fall. Thought comes into your mind, just label it and let it go. Bring your attention back to your abdomen. Gently open your eyes. Come back and look at the screen. See the lovely sun shining through. Okay, let your attention come back to the screen. Okay, so welcome back everyone. Next screen, thanks. I'm just going to shrink my pictures on the side there so I can actually see the screen too. So my short reflection today follows on from last week when we looked at the short-term impact and future of the post-COVID world. Today I would like to extend it and look into the distant future of a beautiful new world. Next slide. As we know, the Buddhist pathway sees nirvana as the ultimate new world. It's a concept not just for Buddhists, but for also Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs as well. And as we all know, it refers to that sense of profound peace of mind, liberation from samsara, a state of suffering, Next slide. Thanks, Yaman. So samsara itself, as we know, refers to the current time. The origin was said by the Buddha to be unknown, and he offered many metaphors, as you can see here. It was so vast, so many eons, and they were seen as grains of sand in the Ganges riverbed. Next slide. Another important Buddhist tradition is the concept of the Pure Land as well. This was said to be a Buddha land of influence. And they're considered to be lands that you can be reborn into, superior lands where you can train for full Buddhahood. And it's said there that you even could meet a Buddha face to face and study under them. So we do have this concept in Buddhism as well. Also, many Abrahamic religions have that as well. The Garden of Eden. Eden was considered a reality outside of the empirical history, and it was said to affect the entire history of the universe as seen, and a reduced form of time from the divine land enjoyed in Eden. Next slide. The Taoists also have a concept, the immortals. These were seen as beings dwelling far away from the turbulent world of men, usually on mountains, actually. They were said to dine on air and sip the dew, and they didn't share any of the anxieties of the ordinary folk. They were said to have smooth, untroubled faces of children. And there are many techniques that the Taoists used, not only of the mind and meditation, but also several compounds and material substances they ingested as well. And Lao Tzu, the author of the Tao Te Ching, was said to head west into the land of the immortals. And before he left the world, he wrote his famous Taoist text, the Tao Te Ching. Next slide. So the question I would like to pose for us at this point in time is, are we at a turning point? So in some of the background research I did, I looked at some of the issues facing humanity, not just humanity, but the whole world. The Earth we know now is about 1.1 degree warmer than it was over 100 years ago. And the last decade was the warmest on record. We also know that the problems that technology, also the good things as well, but there are some issues with technology, and it could be seen as a disruptive force. And as we know, the rate of change affecting all of us is immense at the moment. I think back when I was a young boy, change seemed to happen very slowly. But now, you know, we turn every corner and there's something new. And we do accommodate that change, but often we don't think of them from an ethical and a spiritual perspective, how good that change may be. Of course, our population is growing. I had to go and look at how many people we have. We have over 8 billion people and increasing all the time. It's not even staying steady. We have also a very difficult world that we live in as well. There are simmering disputes, as we know, and they say that the world is looking more dangerous at any time since the Cold War. And of course, the challenge of the global economies and how to collaborate to resolve all the economic disparities that we see so that it will benefit all is another issue as well. So while I've highlighted many of the negative things here, there are many good things too. But I think we are reaching a point where things are becoming difficult to deal with, and that we have to think very carefully about how humanity will move forward. Next slide. As I said, we have nation states driving different agendas against each other. And we don't know where Australia, and I'm talking from a very Australian perspective here, is whether we're heading towards a more cohesive and a less polarised world. It's unknown. Next slide. I did find in some of my research, I came across a recent report published here in Australia by the National Science Agency and the CSIRO, and it was released only last year in 2022. And it looked at the global megatrends extending out to 2042. So let me just show you some of the trends they identified. Next slide. So the first was the adapting to a changing climate, looking also at biodiversity in a leaner, cleaner and greener world, looking at how health is affecting us, emerging diseases and many of the unhealthy lifestyles that we've adopted in modern times, looking at the geopolitical shifts, some of the issues associated with nation states, all having to try and push ahead and get their best for their own nation rather than dealing with humanity as a whole. We also have the growing digital and data economy. Everything now, we know that we're all tracked. The minute we turn on a computer, we're being tracked and people are identifying the wants and things that are perceived that we need. And also a lot of personal information is gathered as well. The other field is the growth of the artificial intelligence as well. We now have all our artificial backgrounds that we put on. We can change who we are. And even some video clips I saw recently, can be shown, different faces can be put on and it looks just like the real thing. So we don't even know what's real these days. The last thing is unlocking the human dimension, looking at the importance of the diversity, equity, and transparency of humans in business, policy, and community decision-making. So these were the 7 trends that they identified affecting the people that live in Australia. Next slide. So some of the interesting things they found out about how people think about the future is they know that it's an innate human capacity or capability, and it starts around about 3 to 5 years of age. So we all start thinking about what's going to happen in the future, even at a very early age. And some of the brain imaging studies that have been done have shown that the same areas are activated when we think about the future as when we think about the past. So it kind of made me think about, there is wisdom to aging. So the more past you have to reflect on, possibly the more accurately you can think about what's needed for the future. But it is a future riddled with uncertainty and complexity, and it's difficult for us as individuals, let alone organisations, to plot a course forward. Next slide. They also put forward this idea of the funnel of the future. As you can see here, it's got 4 components. The core of it there is the things that are very definitely probable to happen. Outside that, we have things that we would prefer to happen. And then outside that, again, we have things that are plausible or could happen. And then the outside ring is the possibilities that are available to us. So even at the probable things, because I've identified some things that have definitely happened, we need to be able to change that probable to preferable. We need to have more options available for us. Next slide. Oh, just before we go, just go back there. I love the slide at the quote at the top. This was actually in the report. It was obviously from Star Wars, and Yoda, the Jedi Master, was saying, "Difficult to see, always in motion is the future." So it is. It's a very difficult and complex world to deal with. Just to finish off, I've put 2 quotes there. One from Winston Churchill, and they both emphasise the human aspect. If the human race wishes to have a prolonged and indefinite period of material prosperity, they have only to behave in a peaceful and helpful way towards one another. And even there, it's kind of limiting because it says material prosperity. We're not just after just material prosperity. And the other one is from the report that I just quoted from. Beware the 2-edged sword of trust. You can do amazing things with it, but nothing without it. Next slide. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like you to put your thinking caps on, be as creative as you want to be. What do you think are your principal features you would like to see in the world? How do you envisage the world? 2 things I want you to think about. And I'd also like you to think about 2 things you would change about the current age we live in, and that would engender a beautiful new world for us all. So 2 things that would change now and 2 things you think we should aspire for, not just for us, but for the future generations if we're still here. And also for the rest of the animal life and the the beautiful world we live in. So on that note, I'll hand it back so we can divide up into our groups. Thank you,
Okay,
Xiao.
thank you. Thank you, Chris, for your profound sharing and reminding us of appreciating the past in order to think about the future. So as Chris just mentioned, we are invited to contemplate the questions on the screen. And now we will be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. In the discussion, we recommend you spend some time getting to know each other and then discussing our questions. So there will be some Zoom notifications to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of your discussions guide you. Our sessions are guided by Metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. So let's use this breakout room sessions to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another, and take time to pause, share, and listen. We'll also ask you to share some of your findings with the larger group at the end of the breakout room discussion. So now let's go to our breakout rooms for rich and nourishing discussions. See you all back in 15 minutes.
Okay, we're all back. I hope there was some interesting discussion. Our group certainly had some things to say and actually changed the way I view things too in a very short time. So that's good. It's a survival tactic for living beings to adapt to circumstances. If we can appreciate that we're all just trying to survive, maybe we can come together to support each other as a world of living beings, just trying to find safety in the world we find threatening. Thanks, Liam. And Priscilla, changing the way of thinking, the mind, embracing emotions, even a heavy one. Let go and accept the unchangeable. Thank you, Priscilla. Bante, embracing uncertainty and change is an opportunity for growth and unexpected opportunities. Yep. And again, Priscilla, we spoke about starting from ourselves and creating a pure land in our own minds through practice, reflection, and respect for all beings. And Cecile, the outer is the reflection of the inner. Change comes from within. Thank you all. Please keep those comments coming. I'll hand back to Xiao Meng now.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And we really hope the check-in session was helpful to you. And we hope you experienced the unconditional love and compassion of this community. But for anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And you can also reach out to the professional organizations on the screen. So for the upcoming sessions, we are delighted to have Venerable Miao Guang and her team to share with us the Bodhi Light Tales, the stories of wisdom for mindful people on the go. So if you have time, please join us. And we are calling for the turning point stories for the second half of the year. So if you are interested in sharing your stories and reflections with the community, please message us in the chat box or inform us by email. As we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever is in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
So thank you, Chris, for your time and generous sharing. And thank you, Lai Qing, for being our IT master behind the scenes. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Now we will have our Euro plenary session. So please stay around if you have time. Otherwise, see you all again next Sunday at 11 a.m.